Hi, and welcome to leg 11 of my Balkans road trip. I'm particularly excited about this video because we're going to explore one of the coolest abandoned places I've been to. As you know by now, I love exploring abandoned places. I've been to some great abandoned places like insane asylums, schools, a hospital, a hotel, and now Tito's school. If you're not au courant with Yugoslav politics, Josip Broz, aka Tito, was the president of Yugoslavia until his death in 1980. I'll give you the nutshell version of Tito's rise to power, from a boy who only completed 4 years of school to a generally well-regarded dictator of Yugoslavia, depending on who you're talking to, of course. He was born in the late 1800s in what was part of Austro-Hungary, now rural northern Croatia. His mother was Slovenian and his father was Croatian. He spent years solidifying his position in the Communist Party of Yugoslavia, and during World War II, when Yugoslavia was occupied by Axis power, Tito took this opportunity to further the power of the party. Together with his comrades, he formed what would later be known as Europe's most effective anti-Axis resistance movement. Eventually, Belgrade was liberated from Axis domination. Because Yugoslavia did it with limited direct support from the Red Army, Tito's position was strengthened, and it also caused him to be more insistent that Yugoslavia could cut its own course apart from the Soviet Union. After the war, he was elected prime minister and quickly ousted King Peter II, transforming the country from monarch to a republic. In November 1945, a new constitution was proclaimed, creating the Federal People's Republic of Yugoslavia. By 1948, Stalin wanted Tito gone, but Tito essentially told him to buzz off. Apparently, he said this to him. He then cut off Yugoslavia from the Soviet Union, and it became kind of like this island in the midst of the ideological oceans, too liberal for the East and too socialist for the West. Tito was considered fairly laid back for a dictator, although he was known for oppressing his opponents, especially in the early years when he branched off from Stalin. He was eventually elected president for life and developed his own form of socialism called Titoism. Tensions were starting to mount in the 60s and 70s with amendments to the Constitution and massive economic downturn. Some of the member states, particularly Croatia, wanted to secede. This caused Tito to become more controlling, and despite trying to keep a unified nation, these old feelings of wanting their own national identity came bubbling back up after his death. His death seemed to spark the unraveling of Yugoslavia, leading to the bloody war in the early 90s as each state sought its independence. Funny note about pop culture in Yugoslavia in the 50s and 60s. Yugoslavian Mexican, or UMEX, music became extremely popular. So did Mexican movies. Most of the movies shown in Yugoslavia were Soviet films, but after Tito said buzz off to Stalin, those went out the door. Not wanting to show American films either, Mexican films became the obvious choice. Hence, Mexican culture became extremely popular in Yugoslavia. Who would have thought? So now that you've had your history lesson of the day, let's get back to my road trip. I left Zagreb and had a delightful music coincidence at the gas station. Okay. I was just listening to Question of Lust, and I had to go pee and gas up, so I pulled off at this gas station, and when I got out, they were playing Question of Lust too. I'm like, okay, I feel like you would never hear that song on the radio in the US. Then I drove to Tito's hometown, where the Josip Broz Tito Political School is. In my journal I wrote, I was so excited to go there, although I had been feeling nervous like I would be scared in there. And I was. Well, you'll see why in a bit. It was fairly easy to find, and I was hoping nobody spotted me drive up there. First, I just passed a cop car when I turned down the road to get to it, so I didn't want to get in trouble. And second, I didn't want some freak seeing me go in there and then creep in after me. I'm in the village right now where Tito was born, but we're not here to see the village. We're there to see that. Here's the story behind this massive brutalist architecture building. The school originally opened up in a different location in 1975 as the Central Educational Institution to train Yugoslav politicians in socialist theory. Tito wanted his party members to have a strong theoretical education. In 1976, he told school officials, "You see, we have a huge number of people who are good communists, but in terms of theory, they are weak. It must be fixed." During the 15 years in which the school operated, more than 600 people taught there and over 1,500 attended classes. The first school became too small to accommodate the growing number of members and students, so this building was constructed and opened up in 1981. It was shut down in 1990 and was used by the Defense Ministry to train Croatian troops. Having a hard time believing that. There's the other entrance. Good thing I have these on. Okay. I think this was a lecture hall. I think that's probably a bathroom. It's all tiled. I'm not looking in there. There's 2 conference halls, 145 bedrooms, a cinema, a sports hall, a bomb shelter capable of withstanding atomic power. This place was massive. Ew, I see toilets. These must have been rooms. Ew. If you're wondering how on earth teeny bot posters made it on the walls where communist leaders studied and Croatian troops trained, it's because starting in late 1991, residents of the besieged town of Vukovar were housed here. I don't want to go in there. A recurring nightmare I've had for years is that I'm in a giant bathroom and there's tile covering all of the walls and floor, and I'm in a state of distress because I either can't find a clean toilet or the stalls have giant gaps through the door. Something is wrong with every toilet and sink in the bathroom. The feeling of distress in my nightmare isn't because I have to use the bathroom and I can't. There's something that disturbs me in my nightmare about all the tile on the walls and floors. So when I saw these rooms, I got extra freaked out. It was windy that day, and the constant noises I was hearing were freaking me out. I think there was a lot more I could have seen, and even though it was so cool, I was also on edge the whole time, so I was not fully enjoying it. The whole time I was on high alert, looking and listening for anything like a psycho who could rape and kill me, a body on the floor, a demonic clown hiding behind a door, toxic mold and animal poop. You name it, it was running through my head. It was also freezing that day, and going through that building was like walking around a commercial freezer. That's all ice. Okay. I didn't explore every room in there because it's kind of freaky when you're by yourself, and the wind kept making like clanking noises and it just freaked me out. And second of all, I could barely hold my camera anymore because my hands were so numb. So it was interesting what I saw, but I was also like on edge the whole time being in there by myself. So there's like multiple entrances. I don't think I saw down that way. I don't know. I got kind of freaked out in there. And a basketball court. Ooh. After I left the school, I headed on some very narrow winding roads to a place called Mali Tabor. Jeez. This is like the kind of road you just pray nobody's coming your way. It's narrow and there is very sharp turns. What in the heck? This is very interesting. Whoa, I just passed a massive crucifix. I'm like it's like not even a town, it's just houses. It was a massive crucifix and it was painted like solid metallic gold. That, oh my gosh, there's a deer. That's like Literally my first wildlife sighting ever in Europe besides a squirrel. It was mostly in ruins inside, so there wasn't much to look at. The first time this place was mentioned in writing was in the 15th century. The first known owner was Ivan Corvina, the son of the King of Hungary. He lived there from 1490 to 1504. It was owned by a series of people, and around 1876 it was owned by Baron Henry Kavanagh from Ireland. His descendants owned it until the end of World War II, and it's been decaying for decades. It looked like there was a front door you could go in, but too many people were driving by. And I like to be discreet when I go into abandoned places. What in the heck? Those things do not want to fall into. What did they like plant these here to deter people from going in? Table in there. I can't even explore because there's like sticks and the like everywhere. There's like let me show you this really quick. There was a doorway open in the front area. But there's like a lot of cars going by, even though I'm like in a nothing town, and I don't really want them to see me like walking in it in case it's like not allowed or whatever. Also, it's like really bad condition building, so it's probably not even like safe to walk around anyways. Last month when I was in Slovenia, this lady I met said that a lot of people still have like this like low-key nostalgia for the days of Tito. I had gotten 4.5 hours of sleep that night, so by that point I was tired and just wanted to get to my next destination, Maribor, my final stop on my road trip before heading back to Ljubljana. Make sure you hit subscribe and notify so you can see how I wrapped up this month-long Balkans road trip spectacular. See you next time.